Hello and welcome to the June 14th, 2026 episode of Nick's News. I am your host Nick, brought to you by Some Budget Studios. That's right, we're paying for this project of ours. We're live usually every Sunday, and we thank you all so much for tuning in or catching the replay on the Nick's News YouTube channel. This is a program dedicated to bringing good news to counter all the bad news that we are bombarded with on a daily basis, with the hope of bringing a little bit of joy back to the world. Several of our articles are pulled from sites like Industry Tap, Live Science, Positive.News, and GoodGoodGood.co, but we appreciate everything sent in by you, the Nick's Newsies. Good evening, everybody. It is fantastic to have you all with us. I am realizing I am missing things. Clearly, I was not prepared for the broadcast tonight. I'm 99% prepared. I usually like to wear this bracelet that producer Donna made. It's a really cool centipede bracelet with my favorite colors. So, hey, Nico. So let me throw this on, because no broadcast is complete without some purple on me. There we go. All right. Hi, Nico and lurkers from producer Donna. So, news brew for tonight. Darkness is as darkness does, and the days may lengthen, but the night is home of shadows. With the expansion of Yuengling into my home state of Michigan, the market, comes a very tasty beverage, and a very tasty dark beverage at that. Black and Tan is a 4.6% ABV combination beer. It's 60% Dark Brewed Porter and 40% premium beer from Yuengling, the oldest operating brewery company in the United States. It's really neat to me that Yuengling has been around so long. I'm so happy that they have come to Michigan. Need to add ABV to that post. And it really is just something else. It's a good run-of-the-mill beer, and the Black and Tan I've really been a fan of. So, what do you drink a Black and Tan in? A pint glass, like my Wicked Pissa pub glass. And it is a bottle, so we need the Balisong bottle opener. It's triumphant return. It's been gone for so long. Hey, Dirty Rogue. Let's see how this looks. Now, I really do like making Black and Tans. I don't have like the special spoon for them, but I figured out how to float a beer without needing any fancy contraptions, just like a regular bar spoon. So, owing to that 60% dark brewed porter, it will of course be a nice darker beer with a crazy good head on it. So that is looking good. We'll set that aside for later. Shoutouts. Did you know that I am part of a podcast team? You can check out DAINIME, the Daikaiju and Anime Podcast, where T and friends discuss pretty much everything. We review and reflect on giant monsters and Japanese animation. If you love kaiju or you love movies and anime, this is the podcast for you. Links are in the description of this video. T and Ryan, they've put on an amazing product, and I absolutely love the episodes that we've done, and I can't wait to do more. So if you want to hear about kaiju and anime, check out Daikaiju, the Kaiju and Anime Podcast. Or, sorry, DAINIME, the Daikaiju and Anime Podcast. Cheers. Solid. Solid Black and Tan. Top it off over here. Off screen. Happy Pride Month to everybody. We see you, we hear you, we love you, and we'll stand with you. To Pride Month. Cheers. Before we get into the news, we want to give one more very special shout out to Spencer and SB Mowing and SB Mow It Forward. As you all know, Spencer mows yards for free for people who need it and can't manage on their own. He recently met an older woman named Debbie. According to Spencer, Debbie has had one of the hardest stretches of life imaginable, and she's been carrying most of it alone. Her husband was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer and given about 90 days to live. Debbie became his full-time caregiver through all of it until he passed. In the time since, her own health has been declining, and the weight of everything has made it nearly impossible to keep up with her home, her yard, and her own medical care. While she was grieving, she was also being taken advantage of. A contractor took a $2,000 deposit for tree work and never showed up. A neighbor wrecked her car and didn't pay for it. She fell 3 months behind on rent, put off dental and health care she genuinely needs, and there were days when she and her dogs went without food because she simply couldn't afford it. We found out about Debbie through her Uber driver, Zach, who helped carry her groceries to the back door, noticed how much she was struggling, and reached out to us because he couldn't help on his own. My dad and I spent 2 days at her property, clearing years of overgrowth and hauling multiple trailer loads of debris. We bought everything she had set aside for a yard sale and donated it to Habitat for Humanity so she'd have money in hand without the burden of running the sale herself. Through SB Mow It Forward, we also covered her 3 months of back rent so she could get out from under that stress. But there's still more she needs, and that's why we're here. This money will go toward dental care she's been putting off, medical expenses that have gone unaddressed, day-to-day essentials, and eventually supporting her transition into a senior living community when she's ready. As of tonight, SB Mow It Forward has raised $592,799 to help Debbie. An absolutely amazing amount of contributions to try to make this woman's life easier after she has been through so much. We have included the links to Spencer's YouTube episode and the GoFundMe for Debbie. You can find those in the description of our video. If you don't have anything to give, I understand entirely. I'm not pushing anybody to give, but it is something else to see such a community come forward and bring over $500,000 to help see this person forward. So, to SB Mow It Forward, to Spencer, and to Debbie, cheers. News quote: "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." This quote comes from Ralph Waldo Emerson, who lived from 1803 to 1882, who was an American essayist, a lecturer, a philosopher, a minister, an abolitionist, and a poet. And I absolutely love this quote because at the end of the day, that's really all that we should be, is ourselves. The world is going to push and pull us every which way, and maybe we think that folks aren't going to like us for who we are. A huge part of my generation is kind of that fear, that constant anxiety of, am I enough for people? Am I too much? What kind of mask do I have to wear today? And at the end of it all, the answer to that is you don't have to wear one. And you shouldn't have to. You should just get to be yourself. I've had a lot of conversations about this lately, about being oneself. And at the end of the day, come to the same conclusion, which is you don't have to be anybody for anyone. You just have to be you. So, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Cheers. Producer Donna wanted to mention too, with the GoFundMe for Debbie, according to Spencer, whatever money is left when she passes away will go to SB Mow It Forward to help others. So that money is going to go back to SB Mow It Forward so that they can put it towards another person in need. So that is an amazing recycling of that money. Bug update. It's great to have all the bugs out and about again. Elmira has completely terraformed her home into an absolute train wreck. It doesn't matter. I should not think to myself that I can make it look good, because the moment that she's awake, she will bury everything. She has done a lot of excavation work, and all that dirt has to go somewhere. Right onto all like the moss and plants that I put, and her water dish, so it's once again a nightmare. Thanks, Elmira. Ripley's been peeking out from their cork bark like a little creeper, just kind of watching things going on in the tank or in the world around her. Her eyesight's really crappy, so I don't know how well she sees me as I'm going about my business in this room, but she does kind of like peek her head now and then, which is pretty cute. Nico said she has Elmira has strong opinions about interior design. Yes, her strong opinion is that everything should be buried in dirt. Little John is a ferocious little hunter. He's got some crickets in there, and he is on the prowl. He loves to strut, and I love how photogenic he is. The Cuddle Puddle had some internal strife. They were fighting a little bit, but things have quieted down since. And they're back to singing. And Sue, our Asian forest scorpion, is once again in introvert mode and just hiding in his burrow. So, all is well in the bug world. All right. Let's get into our good news. Our good news is broken up into 4 major categories, and those categories are science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, and wholesome notes. Really nice ones we like to end on. But long before we get to there, I would like to ask something that I don't normally ask openly. If you could all like this video, I would so greatly appreciate it. We are continuing to try to build Nick's News, and one of the ways that we do that is engagement. And one of the easiest ways to engage with our content is just to click the thumbs up. If you like what we're doing, please, by all means, give us a like. On these videos, on the VODs, every bit of engagement is appreciated. And it shows that, what we're doing is really good stuff to the algorithm, which is a monster. We are trying to turn the monster away from bad news to good news. So we need all of the engagement that we can get. So just clicking the like button would be greatly appreciated. We've got 7 articles tonight. We're going to start off in category 1, science and technology, where we have 2 articles to go over. And we called the first one, "This Sounds Like the Start of a Bond Film." I will copy and paste this into the chat if you all want to check it out. Belgium will sink 23 giant concrete caissons, each weighing 22,000 tons, in the North Sea to build the world's first artificial energy island 45 kilometers off the coast, forming offshore electrical walls. This was published to CPG on the 5th of June 2026 by Anna Alice. Belgium is building an artificial island in the North Sea designed to concentrate and transmit electricity generated by offshore wind farms. Named Princess Elizabeth Island, the structure will be located approximately 45 kilometers off the Belgian coast and will have its outer walls formed by 23 concrete caissons, each weighing approximately 22,000 tons. Described by Elia and the companies responsible for the work as the world's first artificial energy island, the structure will be used as a connection point between turbines installed at sea, submarine cables, Belgium's electricity grid, and future international interconnectors. The project is developed by Belgian operator Elia and executed by TM Edison, a consortium formed by DAINIME and John Deneull. How is this going to work? The structures used in the construction are known as concrete caissons. What is a concrete caisson? Hey, Kiffin. So a concrete caisson is just a gigantic block of concrete. It's insanity. This type of piece is manufactured on land, it's transported out to sea, and installed at the project's defined point. In the case of Princess Elizabeth Island, the blocks will form the island's outer contour and will serve as a base for the area that will house all of this electrical infrastructure. Each caisson is approximately 58 meters long, 28 meters wide, and between 23 and 32 meters in height. So let's convert that to, units of people who have landed people on the moon. So 58 meters, what was that dimension again? It's going to be 58 meters long. That's 190 feet. 28 meters wide. 91.9 meters wide. And how tall? 23 to 32 meters tall. 23 to 32. So that's 75 to 104 feet tall. These things are enormous. And it all depends on the configuration of the storm wall, so they're going to vary a little bit. Hey, Christian. In the case of Princess Elizabeth Island, the blocks will form the island's outer contour and serve as a base for the area that will house the... Oh, I already read that line. Darn it. I was looking at Christian and Joe, and I got turned around. All right. In another technical disclosure, DAINIME presented approximate dimensions of 57 meters by 30 meters by 30 meters, a difference compatible with variations in block description and configuration. So there's a couple configurations being thrown around for these gigantic concrete blocks. Manufacturing took place in Vlissingen, Netherlands, and according to DAINIME, the last caisson was completed and floated in January of this year, 2026, marking the end of the construction phase for these structures at their shipyard. After that, the blocks proceeded to the Skaldia terminal, where they will undergo final work. Sorry, I'm going to take a sip of beer. They're going to undergo final work before the offshore installation of the remaining elements. The Princess Elizabeth Island is part of the expansion of wind energy in the North Sea, a region used by European countries for renewable generation projects offshore. The island will be associated with the Princess Elizabeth Zone, which is a Belgian area designated for new offshore wind farms. The objective is to gather the electricity generated by these farms and send it to the mainland via high-voltage infrastructure. According to industry publications and project documents, the island is expected to serve as a connection point for at least 2.1 gigawatts of offshore wind energy generated in that region. That is a massive amount of power. The European Investment Bank also reports that the project integrates a transmission stage linked to new planned farms and interconnectors connected to the offshore or to the onshore electricity grid. The electrical infrastructure planned for the island will combine high-voltage alternating current systems, called HVAC, and high-voltage direct current systems, known by the acronym HVDC. Alternating current is widely used in electricity grids, while direct current is typically applied in long-distance transmissions and high-capacity submarine cables. This combination is central to the project's classification as the first artificial energy island with this arrangement. According to DAINIME, the high-voltage infrastructure installed on site will group the cables coming from the wind farms in the Princess Elizabeth Zone and allow for future connections with other European countries, so other countries can hook up to this. The offshore installation of the caissons began in April of 2025, when the first two structures were submerged at the planned island location, 45 kilometers off the coast of Belgium. The Belgian coast, not Belgium, Belgian coast. That year's installation campaign was completed in October, and the resumption of offshore work is planned for the European spring this year, 2026. In the technical context of the work, the process is described as the transport, positioning, and controlled submersion of the caissons. Although the title used the verb to sink, the operation does not consist of launching the structures into the sea without control. We're not just pushing these things off a barge. The blocks need to be aligned to form a continuous outer barrier compatible with the island's design. After the perimeter is formed, the inner part will be prepared to receive sand, protective layers, and the electrical equipment planned in the project. According to DAINIME, the island will be formed with approximately 2.3 million cubic meters of sand extracted locally. The work was planned for an area subject to wind, waves, and sea currents, and therefore the caissons incorporate outer walls and protective elements defined according to the conditions of the North Sea. It's basically built for that place. The installation also depends on suitable weather windows, a common factor in large-scale offshore projects. The North Sea is not fun, and sometimes it's even less fun than normal, so they're really planning around the fun and not fun times. In addition to its electrical function, Princess Elizabeth Island has incorporated design measures aimed at biodiversity, according to its parent company, Elia. The company states that the project includes solutions called nature inclusive design, developed with the support of experts in conservation, marine restoration, and ecology. Among the planned measures are protrusions on the outer walls for rest and reproduction of the black-legged kittiwake, as well as submerged structures aimed at marine organisms. Elia also mentions relief panels, erosion protection with greater structural complexity, and solutions related to the European oyster. The NID for Bird Life project, co-financed by the European Union's LIFE program, has a planned duration of 6.5 years and is aimed at creating breeding areas for the black-legged kittiwake on the island. According to Elia, the species is classified as threatened in the North Sea region by the European Red List of Birds, and the plan includes monitoring with cameras installed in the nesting structures. Elia itself states that the environmental results will be accompanied by a scientific monitoring program. This step is necessary because the response of birds, mollusks, fish, and other organisms to the island's presence will depend on the actual occupation of these habitats and the conditions of the marine environment over time. So they're putting in a lot of work to make sure that this place is going to be inclusive and helpful for the environment just as much as it is the people that are getting power from this thing. The construction of the island is linked to the advancement of offshore electricity grids in the North Sea. In this model, part of the generation occurs in offshore wind farms far from the coast, and the energy needs to be collected, converted when necessary, and transmitted by submarine cables to onshore connection points. Princess Elizabeth Island was also planned to act as an arrival point for interconnectors between Belgium and other countries. According to Elia, the structure could function as a hub for international cables, which would allow for electricity exchange between national systems and connection with wind farms in other areas of the North Sea. The financing also demonstrates the strategic dimension attributed to the project by European institutions. In October of 2024, the European Investment Bank announced a financing agreement of €650 million with Elia Transmission Belgium to support the first phase of Princess Elizabeth Island. The approximate total cost indicated in the bank's project sheet for this phase is €1.105 billion. In practice, the island will be a technical infrastructure offshore. Its main function: gather cables, high voltage, house high voltage equipment, and enable the transmission of electricity produced by offshore wind turbines. It is not presented by the companies as a residential or tourist area, and public interest stems from the scale of these concrete blocks, the controlled installation of a marine environment, and the island's role in renewable energy transmission. This is really awesome. Just a gigantic man-made structure that's going to not only serve as a habitat for birds and for marine life, but is also going to help transmit power and get it to homes and potentially work as a hub for all sorts of European nations. To Elia and everybody involved with the building of this massive structure, Princess Elizabeth Island, cheers. seeing which bugs are awake. All right, this next one we called I'm on a boat and it's solar powered and it cleans up the river just like a trash can. If you can't tell, I'm a Lonely Island fan, so I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check this out. South Korea deploys new ferry that cleans up oil spills while people ride. This was published to goodgoodgood.co on May 11th of 2026 by Cameron Baker. What if you could ride a boat, completely powered by the sun, that also purifies the water you floated upon? In South Korea, startup EcoPeace is at the forefront of technology that does just that. It starts with EcoPeace's EcoBot, an autonomous solar-powered boat that uses artificial intelligence to clean floating pollutants and oil spills in real time. It also cleans up excesses of green algae, which can be responsible for the mass deaths of fish and animals and poses health risks to humans. In addition to this purification technology, the device is also used to collect field data about water quality conditions, which helps operators better understand and manage waterways across lakes, rivers, and reservoirs. The company has also developed what they call the Eco Station, which is a fixed water management system, also solar powered, that gets installed for large area water purification projects. But perhaps its most exciting development is the Healing Boat, an autonomous ferry that can transport people across water while purifying that water in the process. The Healing Boat can purify up to 100 tons of water per day, according to EcoPeace, and can accommodate up to 8 passengers per ride. EcoPeace describes it as a model that combines water quality improvement and waterfront use within a single public infrastructure concept. Sorry about that. Purification systems and treatment equipment typically belong to back-end operations, the company continued in a statement. Public use areas such as park lakes, recreational waterfronts, and tourism-oriented water spaces are managed separately. As a result, even when water quality management is essential, it can still appear to citizens as a cost-heavy maintenance function, rather than something that directly improves public service. By day, the Healing Boat operates as a guided tour boat and gives visitors a 30-minute tour of local freshwater facilities, sharing information about water systems and tourism resources. At night, visitors can board the boat for food truck tours and water fireworks displays. The idea is to turn these water purification systems into an enjoyable experience for members of the public, giving them a stake in the sustainability of their community. By integrating 3D digital video content, guests can also explore underwater ecosystems and contribute to conservation and sustainability efforts, simply by boarding a boat. Because purification happens in a visible, citizen-facing way, it becomes easier for agencies to explain why environmental investment matters, and what practical benefits it creates, the statement from EcoPeace said. Instead of remaining an invisible back-end function, water quality management becomes something people can directly see, understand, and in some cases, even participate in. This makes the Healing Boat especially relevant in places where water quality, public use, and city image work together. A TikTok by Going Green Media about EcoPeace stated that the company works across South Korea and Southeast Asia, though the company suggests the Healing Boat could be utilized in any cities with large waterfront spaces, and others seem to agree. The Healing Boat received a 2025 CES Innovation Award in the Smart City category last year, gaining international acclaim for the design. Public freshwater management is no longer only about water quality. It increasingly sits at the intersection of citizen experience, urban identity, environmental policy, and spatial value. EcoPeace's statement concluded. That is why future waterfront management may require more than adding treatment equipment alone. In some places, it may become increasingly important to consider approaches that can both improve water quality and create visible public value. That is really neat. To everybody involved with EcoPiece's EcoBot, which is basically, or no, they've got a bunch of stuff. They've got the EcoBot, they've got the Eco Station, and now the Healing Boat, which purifies water as it transports people wherever they want to go. Cheers. Oh. All right, that is going to get us out of science and technology. We're going to move on to category 2, health and medicine. We've got one article in here tonight, and honestly, this makes perfect sense. So I'm going to copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check this out. And all of the links to all the articles that we present are in the descriptions. By all means, please check these out. Give these sites traffic because they deserve it. This is a lot of work goes into them writing these articles, and we're just reading them. So kudos to all of these places, all these sites, and everybody involved in the production of these articles. First responders in the Mountain West start blood transfusions before the hospital. This was published to the Wyoming Public Media website on May 1st of 2026 by Rachel Cohen. In the back room of a fire station, Jill Ridenhour opens a package. Printed on the side, in all caps, it reads, "Human Blood." Ridenhour is a field supervisor for emergency medical services at Summit Fire and EMS in Colorado's ski country. She pulls out a clear pouch filled with dark liquid and examines it. "The color of the blood is good," she said. "It's kind of dark red, purplish. There are no bubbles at the top." She puts the pouch in a special cooler. This blood is called whole blood. It is the centerpiece of a new idea: to let emergency responders give transfusions at the scene of an accident, instead of having to wait until patients get to the hospital. Earlier this year, Ridenhour administered it for the first time to a trauma patient in the field. "Her blood pressure was very low," Ridenhour said. "As the blood was going in, you could just see her blood pressure improve. It was pretty neat." The patient was stabilized and taken to the hospital. "There are times that no matter what we do, we can't help, and this is something that can give someone a fighting chance," Ridenhour said. Laura Harwood is a former trauma nurse and helped start the Colorado Whole Blood Coalition. For decades, she said, medics were trained to give fluids like saline. "I keep referring to it as a revolution because it's an entire upending of the way that people think about it," Harwood said. "Whole blood is special. When you get a transfusion at the hospital, it is usually split into two components, like plasma or platelets. Whole blood keeps it all together, which Harwood said is better. It can help stop bleeding and jumpstart recovery. But whole blood isn't entirely new. Soldiers used it back in World War I, and it made a comeback during the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. As those physicians and nurses and everybody started coming back, they started saying, hey, we should look at how to bring this to civilian trauma patients," Harwood said. Research followed. One study showed receiving blood before getting to the hospital decreased patients' chances of dying by 37%. "There's no other single variable that's been associated with that strong of an impact," she said. The Colorado Whole Blood Coalition is working to get more fire and emergency medical service agencies on board. 15 have launched programs in the last 2 years. First responders in Idaho, Utah, and Nevada have started carrying the blood for the first time within the last 6 months. But across the country, only about 2% of EMS agencies do. Keeping the blood pouches fresh, for one, is a daily task. They're in ready-to-go coolers that are conditioned every day to keep that temperature between 1 and 6 degrees Celsius the entire time, said James Levi, who leads EMS for Red, White, and Blue Fire in Breckenridge, which started its whole blood program alongside Summit. He said the blood expires in about a month, so they need a steady supply. The Summit County agencies are working on agreements with a hospital to bring unused blood before it goes bad. Setting up these programs, though, is expensive. But the federal government is starting to invest, dedicating $80 million to pre-hospital blood programs with more grants on the way. Ideally, I think this would just be a standard part of the trauma treatment for crash victims or other trauma victims, said Jonathan Morrison, who leads the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or the NHTSA. This can really save lives. He pointed out that more than 40% of people who die in car crashes are still alive when first responders arrive, meaning there's a window to act. NHTSA recently listed expanding pre-hospital blood transfusions, recently listed expanding pre-hospital blood transfusion programs as one of the Trump administration's key road safety strategies. Whole blood has been administered 10 times in Summit County since it arrived on Christmas Eve of last year. Reidenhauer said her first patient recovered well at the hospital. For me, it was kind of one of the coolest things I've done in my career, she said. She says it's a gift to be able to carry whole blood, and to know she can make a difference. That is really neat. Basically, keeping on hand and training first responders to perform blood transfusions so that folks like trauma victims don't have to wait to get to the hospital to get one. That is good. Cheers. All right, that's going to get us out of health and medicine. We're going to move on to category 3. Flora and fauna, aka plants and animals. We've got 2 articles in here, and we called the first one, "The Hungry, Hungry Caterpillar Won't Eat Here." And I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check this out. Is spring running late? Some oak trees may be holding back for a reason. This was published to the Weather Network on May 8th of 2026 by Cheryl Santamaria. Producer Donna and I definitely shared a brain cell on this one coming up with this title. Like, really, it struck us both that the Hungry, Hungry Caterpillar was going to go hungry. It has been an unusually cold spring for many parts of Canada. You can feel it in the air, and you can see it in the trees. That's because many plants rely on temperature cues to start growing leaves, and prolonged cold periods can delay the debut of spring's much-anticipated greenery. But there may be another reason trees are reluctant to leaf, new research from Germany's University of Würzburg revealed. The paper, which was published May 1st in the journal Nature, Ecology, and Evolution, suggests that some oak trees may hide out to avoid attacks from hungry, hungry caterpillars. In nature, timing is everything, and that's especially true in spring, when the world is waking up from dormancy. Many insects hatch when leaves are young, vulnerable, and full of nutrients. Delaying leaf emergence by 3 days has an enormous impact on caterpillars. When they hatch, the food they need remains locked away inside closed buds, reducing leaf damage and tree damage by 55%, making the tactic more effective than expensive chemical defenses. This discovery fundamentally changes our previous understanding of the onset of spring in the forest. Dr. Salman Malik, a postdoc at the University of Würzburg's Biocenter and lead author of the study, said in a statement. Speaking with New Scientist, Malik says the delay may also be due to constraints from resource depletion the year prior, But because the observations were recorded across several tree populations and were strongest in areas where delays reduced leaf consumption, he believes it isn't a physiological response but rather an adaptation. For their study, the team analyzed 2,400 square kilometers in northern Bavaria using Sentinel-1 radar satellites, technology that can capture accurate ecological data in all weather conditions. Between 2017 and 2021, they collected 137,500 observations, highlighting places where trees were stripped bare during a 2019 gypsy moth outbreak and monitoring how those trees responded the following year. Researchers say the findings may help explain why some forests turn green later than expected. This could also impact conservation efforts, as many of our current leading models focus on environmental and climate factors while overlooking plant and insect interactions. This point that plants respond to much more than climate change is very important, James Cahill at the University of Alberta in Canada told New Scientist. That is really awesome. Basically, trees going, no, I'm not getting eaten this year, and refusing to bud and produce leaves so that they can starve out caterpillars. Cheers. Gypsy moths are an invasive species here in Michigan. They decimate tree populations, so it's good to hear that the trees are getting back at them, potentially. Whoa, what was that? Oh. The roaches are fighting. They are really throwing one another around back there. All right, back to the articles. This next one, I like turtles. I'll copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check it out. Hundreds of sea turtles visit this national park to lay their eggs every year. To protect them, locals adopt a nest. This was published to goodgoodgood.co on May 13th of 2026 by Cameron Baker. Every year between May and September, hundreds of sea turtles make their way to the shores of North Carolina's Cape Hatteras National Seashore to lay eggs. In the dark cover of night, endangered species like green, leatherback, and Kemp's Ridley turtles crawl onto the sandy beaches, dig a large pit with their flippers, and lay hundreds of their leathery eggs to incubate for approximately 60 days. Once the eggs hatch, the new babies use a combination of clues to find the ocean and make their great blue debut. Using the slope of the beach and the reflection of the moon off the water, the hatchlings move towards the part of the horizon that is the lowest angle of elevation from their position. After reaching the shore, they orient themselves into the waves and use magnetic orientation to migrate further into the water. Typically, they will swim for 24 to 36 hours until they reach seaweed nurseries, where they will be protected for their adolescence. During the summer of 2025, experts monitored close to 300 sea turtle nests, and they hope to see similar numbers here in 2026, according to Outer Banks Forever, a nonprofit partner of Cape Hatteras National Seashore, Fort Raleigh National Historic Site, and the Wright Brothers National Memorial. To help support park rangers at Cape Hatteras who monitor and protect these nests, Outer Banks Forever offers symbolic nest adoptions to turtle lovers near and far. Through the Adopt a Sea Turtle Nest program, visitors and supporters who make a donation of $100 or more receive an adoption certificate and information about their assigned nest, once activity really kicks into gear in early June. Donors then receive updates when the nest hatches later in the summer or fall. Demand is high, and nests are assigned on a first-come, first-served basis. Our program is now in its 7th year, and more than 600 supporters have helped raise close to $126,000 to protect and enhance the seashore. Nicole Erickson, Development and Adoption Programs Manager for Outer Banks Forever, told the Island Free Press. That collective effort is being felt every day. The sea turtle species found at Cape Hatteras are also categorized as endangered species due to external forces like climate change, marine pollution, poaching, bycatch, and destruction of nesting beaches. But they also face increased risks as the nests are highly vulnerable to major weather events and predators. The national seashore beaches have been monitored since 1987 to help ensure the best success rates for these nests. Numbers have fluctuated greatly in the last 30 years, with just 11 nests in that first year and 473 in 2019. No matter how many eggs are laid on the seashore, it is estimated that only 1 in 1,000 to 10,000 hatchlings will survive to maturity. Your support helps fund critical projects that protect and enhance the seashore and the vital habitat sea turtles depend on. Outer Banks Forever writes about the Adopt a Nest program. Visitors of the seashore can also witness nest excavations right on the beach, but National Park Rangers urge everyone to follow rules and do their part to protect the animals. And for those who spot a turtle outside of scheduled events, Rangers urge them to call 252-216-6892 to report any sightings. Like all national parks, the seashore is a special place that was established to help uphold the National Park Service's mission to preserve unimpaired the natural and cultural resources and values of the national park system for the enjoyment, education, and inspiration of this and future generations. The Cape Hatteras webpage reads. Conserving endangered species is an important part of this mission, and a responsibility of all those who would be stewards of Cape Hatteras National Seashore. That is really sweet. To everybody at the Cape Hatteras National Seashore for hosting effectively Adopt a Nest, so that proceeds can go towards helping these endangered species continue to nest properly on the Cape Hatteras beaches. Cheers. All right, that is going to bring us into category 4, the wholesome notes. These are the articles that we like to end on. And again, if you want to check out any of these articles, links are in the description. And please, if you like our content, subscribe. Every little bit helps to get us out in there, out into the algorithm. So here we go with the wholesome notes. We call this first one, "The Knitting Nanas Are At It Again." And I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check this out. Sorry about that. I bumped the computer. British knitting nanas sent mini sweaters to penguins, toys to monkeys, and baby blankets to a rhino. Now they're knitting for elephants. This was published at goodgoodgood.co on May 12th of 2026 by Megan Cook. And we actually talked about the knitting nanas knitting the sweaters for penguins on a previous episode, so it's really cool to hear them coming up again. In Saltburn by the Sea, England, a knitting circle has been saving animals in need for years through their favorite craft. This is a follow-up article to one that we reported on in May 11th of 2025. So over a year ago, we talked about the knitting nanas, and I'm so happy to be talking about them again. Because this group is crazy. This group is awesome. The knitting nanas, who are all in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, live at Hazel Grove Court Care Home. In December of 2024, the Knitting Nanas came together to make blankets for Hercules, a 3-week-old rhino from South Africa that was recovering from a hyena attack over 5,000 miles away. I feel extremely proud that I have been part of this project, Joyce Woofenden, one of the Knitting Nanas, told Hillcare. And to see Hercules wearing one of our blankets brought a tear to my eye. In May of 2025, they made miniature sweaters for the Penguin Foundation, a penguin charity in Australia. The sweaters went to Phillip Island, which is home to more than 40,000 penguins. In the event of an oil spill, the rehabilitation jumpers are placed on affected penguins until their feathers can be cleaned by wildlife experts. The short window in between can prove critical. I have knitted jumpers for both my children. Joyce Backstrom, 94, laughed, but have never knit for a penguin. In December of 2025, they made woolen toys and blankets for monkeys at the International Primate Rescue in South Africa, just in time for Christmas. One of our residents, Judith, said she had heard monkeys like to play with toys just like children. Said Sharon Lewis, the activities coordinator at Hazel Grove Court Care Home. Apparently, they are called enrichment toys, so we thought So we thought it would make a great next project for the Knitting Nanas. The next nonprofit on the docket was Wildlife SOS, an organization that cares for endangered and vulnerable species across South Asia. In addition to reuniting leopards with their cubs and rescuing dancing bears from inhumane practices, the nonprofit is also dedicated to saving elephants. Currently, we have a big focus on saving India's elephants. Nikki Sharp, the executive director of Wildlife SOS USA, told Good recently. That includes efforts to protect elephants in the wild and to rescue all of India's captive begging elephants, she added, in reference to the outdated and cruel practice of forcing elephants to perform street tricks for money. When the Knitting Nanas learned about Wildlife SOS's mission and to save begging elephants, they leapt at the opportunity to help. They began knitting countless handmade woolen elephant plushies, with all the proceeds going to Wildlife SOS. The knitted elephants have been flying out, Lewis said. They sell straight away, and the residents are already busy making more. In the last decade and a half, Wildlife SOS has achieved major conservation milestones, including building India's first humane elephant rescue center, opening India's first elephant hospital, and even creating an elephant ambulance custom designed to save elephants in distress. On April 16th, Save the Elephant Day, Hazel Grove Court Care Home residents joined a web call with Wildlife SOS to learn more about the cause from boots-on-the-ground experts. It was wonderful to be invited to the webinar and see the amazing work the rescuers are doing, 77-year-old resident Peter Rayson said. Elephants are my favorite animal, and it's heartbreaking to think people will take them from the wild and make them beg, breaking their spirit, said the 75-year-old knitting nana, Tina Parker. Wildlife SOS is thankful for the support. Sorry, got a little bit of a cough tonight. Maybe I should try more of this black and tan. The entire team and I are sincerely touched by the creativity, thoughtfulness, and generosity of the residents of Hazel Grove Court Care Home, said Linda Whitley, Wildlife SOS's UK manager. Knowing that they care so deeply about the once captive elephants in our care highlights the global appreciation for these endangered keystone animals. Lewis acknowledged how special this experience has been for the senior residents as well. The Knitting Nanas love knowing that something they made with their own hands is helping animals on the other side of the world, Lewis said. It gives them a huge sense of achievement and has sparked lots of conversations with families and visitors about wildlife and conservation. To the Knitting Nanas, who have once again shown up on a Nick's News broadcast, making little plushy elephants to be sold by Wildlife SOS to pay for their work in India to rescue elephants. Cheers. All right, we're going to get into our final article, which we called Kindness is Always Free. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check this one out. Ice cream truck gives free scoop to little boy who couldn't afford it. Now, it's free for all kids this summer. An ice cream truck is scooping up kindness and serving it on the house. In the Gardner, Massachusetts area, Maddie's Ice Cream and More is in its third year of slinging scoops of cookies and cream, cotton candy, and strawberry cheesecake. Helmed by owner Madison Silvanoli, the small business serves scoops, splits, and shakes, and has a slew of fun toppings like peanut butter cups and caramel sauce, attracting sweet-toothed children far and wide. But recently, the business went viral in a big way, because one of those children couldn't afford a sweet treat, and Silvanoli didn't turn him away. He said he has no dollars. Her cousin, Mackenzie Sargent, who is working the truck with Silvanoli, tells her in an April 15th video. It's okay. Bring him back, Silvanoli tells Sargent, as they notice the child has started crying while walking away. We don't turn kids away when they don't have money, Silvanoli said. You want an ice cream from Maddie? You get an ice cream from Maddie. Silvanoli swirls whipped cream on a scoop and adds colorful sprinkles, which makes it to the now happy kid. Buddy, you can always come up to the ice cream truck, Silvanoli tells him, and Sargent repeats it to him. Captioned, no money, no problem. Kindness is always free. The video quickly went viral, attracting more than 8.6 million views and thousands of supportive comments. As a kid that got left out from ice cream time, you definitely changed his week, commented one viewer. I remember crying frequently when I was little because my family couldn't afford things like ice cream often. It was hard seeing the other neighborhood kids getting to enjoy theirs, wrote another. This is a beautiful act of kindness. Silvanoli has given out free ice cream and shared the interactions on her account before, but it was this particular video that struck a chord. Is there a way to send like $200 for the kids who don't have money for ice cream? Asked one commenter. Where can I donate so you can give another one for free? Love it, said another. One more wrote, can we donate to make sure no kid left without ice cream? Now, Silvanoli says, so many people have donated to her business, each child I see gets a free ice cream. I empathize with each child that comes up to the ice cream truck, Silvanoli tells Today.com, adding that she often thinks of her 3 kids. Ice cream trucks are childhood and nostalgia. People remember their ice cream truck. So many people from around the country and even world, from Denmark to Australia, have sent in small and large donations, and they keep coming in, she says. The world is getting so scary, and I have 3 daughters, and nieces and nephews and all that, and I want them to have a bright future, she adds. I feel like, if I start something so small, they can see my kindness, pay it forward, and it just spreads. That is amazing. Maddie's Ice Cream and More, proving that there's no cost for kindness. That kindness is always free. This article was published to Today on May 11th by Joseph Lamore, and a great job writing it. And really, all of the kudos to Maddie's Ice Cream and More for handing out free scoops to kids. Cheers. Well, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning in or catching the replay on the Nick's News YouTube channel. Again, we're live every Sunday, and our next episode is going to be on June 21st of 2026, and it will be a chat and chill. That's right. Just as we had cool news last week, we're going to have a chat and chill on June 21st. It'll be nice and relaxed. We'll have a great news brew, and you guys can send in questions that we will answer, or just have your questions ready for when we're live, and we'll answer them as best we can. So it'll be a good time. We encourage participation, so if you feel inclined, by all means, you can post suggestions or for news brews, shoutouts, news quotes, and especially good news articles that we can present on future episodes, like Maddie's ice cream. Handing out free ice cream to kids, because kindness is amazing like that. You can message us on Facebook or Instagram, or email us at somebudgetstudios@gmail.com. Links are all in the description of our video. Producer Donna says we have something special for Nick. I'm terrified. I'm absolutely terrified. This is the first I'm hearing of this. That's not good. Feel free to like, subscribe, or comment on our content across all of our platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, to get good news and joy out into the algorithms. Please no SEO improvement advertisements, we're not interested. We continue to grow thanks to all of you, thanks to all of the interactions that you make with our content. If you enjoy it, hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, the whole 9 yards. So we can continue to churn this great content and continue to grow. It's been crazy. Producer Donna said I shouldn't be afraid, but I still am. So, but yeah, looking forward to seeing y'all at the Chat and Chill on the 21st. And as always, thank you again. I love you all. Have a great night, and I will play us out.